Good evening. Only one student is there, so shall we wait few more minutes? Right, okay. I was waiting some time until the students come. So can you tell me whether you can hear me? Only two students are there in the meeting. Can you two hear me? Hello, Buddhika and Vijay Singh, huh? May I know whether you are available here? Please speak if you can hear me.
Send them the message.
Pardon? I didn't hear.
Sorry, ma'am. I'll send them the message, ma'am.
I hope
I'll,
you have been informed about the lecture, right?
yes, ma'am.
Hmm. Here, anyway, let those who come, let them come. Shall we start the work? Otherwise, time is passing and today is the last session. Okay? Therefore, I don't want to be waiting some more time because we have another topic to discuss today. Another topic in the sense, the last topic. So is it all right if I start the work? Okay, right. I will start the work, right? Um, Since I need to cover this area, even without the presence of the students, I don't know, Buddhika might be there, but other one I don't know, right? Anyway, I will cover this session, right? Okay, I didn't know that the students do not have a plan to join the lecture or anything. I was not aware. Anyhow, right? I will start the work. Right. Today I sent the lecture material to your group. Hope you have collected this from the group, right? Yeah. This is the last session that is on unit number 6, where we are going to talk about instructional aids. Okay. That is the topic of today's discussion as well as the topic of the lesson. So we are going to pay our attention to these areas today, right? Within today's session. Instructional aids. First of all, we are going to see what instructional aids are. And then there is a small classification of instructional aids. Then afterwards, there are certain concepts actually, right? We need to take them as particular concepts called program learning and web-based language learning, blended learning, okay? These are particular types of learning and we are going to talk about them as well. And also there are certain other concepts like computer assisted language learning and technology assisted language learning, this kind of thing. So all those concepts are given under or will be discussed under language laboratory, right, in this topic. And then integrating technology in lesson, something about how to integrate technology in preparing lessons, right? Okay, and blended learning finally. So these are the areas which we are going to discuss today. And we'll be starting with the small intro, right? Uh, what do you think about this instructional aids? This is a common term, right? Usually we use the term teaching aids. That is the commonest term, teaching aids. So some people simply use the term audio visual aids or visual aids like that. But instructional aids, this term is covering wide scope, okay, which means any aid or anything used in the classroom or during the teaching learning process to encourage learning, making it easier and also more interesting. So whatever the teacher is using with the purpose of encourage the learning of the students and also making the learning easier for them, and lastly, to make the learning more interesting. With these hopes, if the teacher uses something in the classroom during the teaching learning process, as a whole, we call it an instructional aid. Okay, right. So that is uh, the idea in general. Okay. And when you talk about instructional aids, there are certain examples like charts, maps, models, concrete objects, even realia, film strips, projectors, radio, even television. There's a whole lot of instructional aids, right? Most of these instructional aids are used by the teachers in their day-to-day classes. And some instructional aids are not very much used. Anyway, they are quite like useful for the teacher to effectively teach and uh, to make the students understand the lesson. There are so many purposes, right, behind using instructional aids, and also variety of instructional aids should be there. And there's a quotation I thought of putting here, Albert Duret, right? He says, it is easier to believe. This is quite an interesting quotation, right? Look at that. It is easier to believe what you see than what you hear. Is you see from your own eyes and you can believe. You can easily believe what you see, right? Than even what you hear. But if you both see and hear, then you can understand more readily and retain more lastingly. Yeah, you can quickly understand, and also you will remember it for a long time if you do both. If you both see and hear. So that is the biggest benefit of using audio and visual aids. Right? Particularly to talk about see and hear, visual and here audio, right? Audio visual aids. But when we talk about instructional aids, as I told, it covers a large area, not only audio and visual aids. There are some more things as well. Okay, we are going to have a look at this aspect. Yes, this is the basic classification of instructional aids. We have first one, audio visual aids, and then teacher made aids. Third one, electronic aids. Definitely, you are familiar with audio visual aids because all the time we are talking about audio visual aids, and even in your higher national diploma program, you have learned about audio visual aids mostly under teaching materials, right? And apart from that, we have teacher-made aids also, plus electronic aids. So we will see at the end of this discussion, you can think about how far the teachers in Sri Lankan schools are using these different categories of instructional aids, okay? You will be able to get some sort of idea, some clear idea about that practical situation. Anyway, we are going to have a look at these three categories one by one, right? The first is audio visual aids, right? What do you think about the audio visual aids? And in this table, separately you have audio aids, and then visual aids, then audio visual aids. Three main columns are there. Audio aids, you can understand whatever the students listen, right? In other words, we have the term oral, A-U-R-A-L, oral. So audio aids will help their improve their oral skills. Oral means not O-R-A-L, oral, A-U-R-A-L. Oral means auditory, right? Listening. Then audio, it's like tapes, recorders, tape recorders, that's one, right? And radio and lingua phone, things like that. And visual aids. There are two subcategories there also, printed and non-printed. Printed visual aids are books, newspapers, magazines, right? And also there can be many more things. Basically books, newspapers, magazines. Newspapers means news articles, right? News articles, short news articles or feature articles or whatever that are available in advertisements, including commercial advertisements, classified advertisements, right? All these things that are available in a newspaper can be used in the teaching learning process, right? And apart from that, magazines, there are certain different categories of magazines also. The teacher should be clever enough to use them effectively in the classroom, but not for the sake of using them. Right? Can you suggest some more examples for printed materials that are possible to be used in the classroom? I mean, the teacher can't be using all the printed things in the teaching learning process, no? Right? Books, usually books, newspapers, magazines, there's a possibility, right? The teacher can use them to teach certain things to the students. Apart from that, do you remember anything else as printed visual aids? Printed. I hope you can understand the difference between printed and non-printed. Okay? Printed, not anything else, do you remember? Now the people are coming in. You must have forgotten, I think. What happened, Sumaya?
The sir gave the
Huh?
sociology of education link, ma'am.
Sorry, Philip, what?
Link has changed,
They gave
madam.
the wrong link, ma'am, for us.
You got the link late?
Yes, ma'am. Now, just now only the sir gave the new link for us.
Okay, I didn't know. Right, anyway, I was waiting some time and then finally I started. Anyway, you all have received the lecture material, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then no issue. I just started anyway. I was waiting because I wanted to cover this session somehow. Because I don't think I will be able to have another date also, right? You are fully packed now. So therefore, I should make use of this only available date. Right. Yeah. Okay. He has shared the link. Okay. Right. Fine. No issue. I was talking about, actually, I started the discussion on this instructional aids. And all this is not an unfamiliar area. Okay, you already know, and you all have done a diploma, right? Definitely, you have those who have done HNDE. There's a topic in ELTM, visual aids. Visual aids in the sense teaching aids. There we are talking about audio, visual aids, and all these things. But in this lesson, apart from that, now I will just go back a little bit. Here you can see there's a classification, right? Not only the audio visual aids, we are talking about teacher-made aids as well as electronic aids here as instructional aids, right? So I started to talk about audio visual aids first. There are these three categories. There are audio aids separately and visual aids as well as audio visual aids, right? Do you remember my last question was I was asking about this printed visual aids. What else do you think you can use as visual aids, as printed visual aids in the teaching learning process? These are the commonest printed visual aids. Do you remember anything else? If yes, you can add them, right, to the note. And non-printed visual aids, they are not printed, but they exist in the grapheme form, right? What are they? Blackboard, or we can say chalkboard. The teacher is writing on the chalkboard, and pictures. charts, flashcards. Flashcards can be printed or non-printed, right? And some models, slides and slide projector, LCD projector, film strips, right? Overhead projectors, all these things, right? All these things are not printed, but they are visual aids. The students can look at something and then can get some idea to understand the lesson. Okay, non-printed. This division you need to be clear a little bit about talking about visual aids. And then we have both, the combination of both. Audio plus visual. We call them audio visual aids. And commonly we use the word audio visual aids actually, right? It's very rare that we say visual aid only and audio aid only. Usually we say audio visual aids. But remember, you can't use this term, audio visual aids, to indicate everything. For example, blackboard is not a audio visual aid. It's a visual aid only, right? Okay. And tape recorders or whatever you listen would be only audio aid, not audio visual aid, although commonly we use the term audio visual aid. Particularly, what do we mean by audio visual aids then? Some motions, pictures, and television. Motion here means you can take it as, understand it as video, right? In video clips, when the teacher plays some video clips, not only the pictures, right? Not only the visuals, the students can hear the sounds. So audio and visual both are there, as well as some pictures with you can take not only the visuals, right? With some sounds dubbed into them, or animated clips like this kind of things, as well as television, right? Audio visual aids. So the teacher has the opportunity to use a variety of audio visual aids. So it should not be visual aids only. And it can be a combination of both then and there, depending on the requirement of the lesson, right? Yeah, here I'm not going to talk in detail about the advantages of audio visual aids, right? Because already you know something about them. Therefore, please refer back to whatever you have about why the teacher should use audio aids or visual aids or even audio visual aids. What are the advantages and all these things? Be familiar, right? Yeah, the second category, first we have the classification, right? So all the instructional aids, you need to take it like this, right? All the instructional aids can be audio visual aids or teacher made aids or electronic aids. But remember, other than this third category, right? First and second categories can overlap. You understand that? Because some of teacher made aids can be visual aids. Okay, right? But at a basic level, we do this classification. There are audio visual aids and there are some aids that are made by the teacher, because there are some instructional aids that teacher cannot make by herself. As a teacher, right? This discussion is very important for a teacher. So a person who is teaching, who is a teacher, should have a clear understanding regarding what she or he can herself or himself create as audiovisual aids or as whatever instructional aid. Okay. For that idea, this knowing about teacher-made aids is important. So here there are some examples for teacher-made aids. You know about what teacher-made aids, right? The instructional aids or the teaching materials the teacher can create, maybe with low budget, right? And they should have the features like the portability, right? They should be portable, and the teacher should be able to prepare these aids without spending lot of money. Budget means that, low budget means that, and also teachers should be able to prepare these aids, these instructional aids easily, right? And also without taking a long time, right? And another characteristic of teacher-made aids should be the teacher should be able to use them over and over again, right? For a long time, not once only. Like that, there are certain features, there are certain characteristics, or we can take them as requirements that should be there available with the teacher-made aids. Okay, these are some examples. Then flashcards. All these aids, I hope you know, right? You have some sort of understanding. Flashcards, they are not very expensive. Teacher can create them very easily, and they can be used to teach words, pronunciation. You know what flashcards, right? The teacher displays some whatever she needs, maybe vocabulary or how to the pronunciation written in phonetic script or in teaching spellings. Sometimes teacher can use flashcards to teach simple grammar rules as well. Okay, putting simple sentences, short sentences on a card and displaying like that. Okay, pictures. Yeah, kids, especially the lower grade students, they like pictures a lot, no, right? They enjoy looking at the pictures during the lesson. So the teacher can make use of that, their interest to teach them. The teacher can use pictures to describe a scene, right, of something or a story or a drama or any kind of narrative. A series of pictures can narrate a story, right? Not only a single scene. A complete narration can be presented to the students by using different sets of pictures. And also they can be used to explain meaning of some difficult words and also to develop the imagination, right? There are a lot of benefits, not only to illustrate a scene or some incident, not only with that purpose, right? The teacher can arouse the curiosity of the students about what they are going to learn, right? And also to arouse their thinking ability, to polish their critical thinking ability. And as you can find here, to develop their imaginative skills. And the teacher can use pictures to elicit language from the students. Like in this situation, teacher can display a picture and ask the students to tell what they feel, right? Can ask the students to brainstorm and talk about the picture descriptions, right? Simply like that, there are so many activities that are possible with pictures. And talking about charts, about charts, there are so many different types of charts available now, right? So the teacher, actually the thing is this, charts may not be possible for every lesson, especially when you are talking about teaching language. You need to be very much careful in using charts effectively. Okay, right? So you need to find out, it's another cost-effective teaching aid. And yeah, in teaching 4 skills, charts can be useful. So you need to establish the link, right? You need to think how charts can be used to improve the skills, 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing. And there are some suggestions given in the note also in teaching minimal pair drilling minimal pairs, right? Keeping, like, showing minimal pairs and asking the students to pronounce them maybe after the teacher, repeating, right? For that, teacher can effectively sometimes use charts, right? Minimal pair, you know about what minimal pair is, right? 2 words with one difference between the two, almost the same, 2 words with one point of difference between them, right? Especially in pronunciation practice. right? In speaking sessions, even in listening sessions, can use minimal pairs, minimal pair drills, right? Yeah, there are suggestions, some suggestions given here. I don't want you all to limit to this, okay? That's why I'm not taking a lot of time to give thorough attention to these suggestions. You may have better ways, definitely. And you may be using these teacher-made aids with some other purposes quite effectively in the classroom if you are teachers, right? Even if you don't have to be a teacher, you can innovatively think how these aids can be used in the teaching learning process. So I am clearing the path for you all to think in that line, right? That's all. Otherwise, don't try to learn all these things by heart, right? Models. You know about models? Some real objects, right? Usually we talk about as models, sometimes real objects, but in certain other situations, the teacher may be unable to bring the real object as it is to the classroom. Okay, right? Then teacher has to find a way to show that real object. How? It can be done by using models. So the word model has a broad meaning here, right? Sometimes teacher herself can model lot of things. Normally this happens in the classroom, okay? Imagine that teacher is teaching, teacher is narrating a story, right? Where there is a fox and a rabbit, for example. Then teacher wants to teach some vocabulary items to the students, maybe to a primary grade, okay, vocabulary items. Then there's a dialogue between the rabbit and the fox. Then we can't find, the teacher can't find the real animals there. No? Teacher can use the video, right? And even the pictures. There are some, there can be some audio tracks, right? There are a lot of other ways, but at the same time, don't you think it would be effective if the teacher herself acts like the rabbit? Like telling the lines in the dialogue as if the rabbit says them. It is also a kind of modeling, okay? Teacher acting like the rabbit according to that example, kind of modeling. And also models can be, for example, like these ships, right? Yeah, you know, real objects like ships can't be taken to the classroom. So in such a situation, teacher can find a tiny version of ship and use it as a model, right? In the teaching learning process. Okay, ship is only one example. There can be so many other examples, right? Tiny versions or manageable versions of something large or something big and something which cannot be taken to the classroom. Instead of that, teacher can use a model. So they are also quite effective teacher-made aids, right? Some models may not be necessarily teacher-made, right? Don't think that teacher has to prepare all the models. No, teacher can go and buy also. And there are handmade models as well. But anyway, understand the broader meaning of the word model. That's what I wanted to tell you, okay? Right. And another one is the blackboard. We call it, we put it under teacher-made aids because teacher is not making the blackboard, but teacher is the one who is utilizing the blackboard. Right? And it should be done effectively. There is a separate discussion actually talking about the use of blackboards. You are already aware of these informations, I think, right? How to use the blackboard. When we talk about the blackboard use or chalkboard use, there are certain rules and regulations in talking about how to use the chalkboard or blackboard. It can be either whiteboard or green board, that depends on the school, right? But usually any school has chalkboard. Chalkboard means blackboard. So the common term is chalkboard, right? Just to brief few ideas there. Here I haven't put those information because they are already familiar to you as people who have completed a diploma, right? You must have been exposed to that knowledge, no? So basically to talk about how to use Blackboard here, right? In writing the Blackboard, it is said, teacher should not turn her back, right, to the students in writing in the blackboard, because if she does so, the students are not there within the vicinity of the teacher, and the students are making the benefit of it. Especially if there are disruptive students, mischievous cases in the classroom. If the teacher is turning completely back to the students in writing the board, right, it will be a problematic. The teacher will not be able to keep the class under control then, right? So then what is the advised method? Teacher should stand in a kind of angle, half facing the board, half facing the students, the classroom, while writing on the board. That's the point there, right? While writing on the board, she should be able to see the classroom and monitor the students. And at the same time, she should be able to write clearly on the board also, right? And another thing, when in writing on the board, right, teacher should not talk to the board. It happens sometimes, right? Especially it happens among the students who are they are during their teacher training periods. When they come for Viva, we see so many students are doing that, right? Talking to the board and writing on it. It should not happen like that. If the teacher wants to talk to the students, then she should do it facing the students while writing. And if it is difficult, she should finish writing on the board and then talk to the student like that. Okay? Because if you are not looking at the students and just talking to the blackboard while writing or drawing anything on that, students will not get your point, right? They will be distracted completely. Eye contact is not there. Okay, there are a lot of things like that to talk about how to use the blackboard. And also when we talk about this blackboard usage, the teacher should use the board very effectively, like the space of the board, and also the teacher should write legibly. The legible handwriting is required, and also teacher should not do, right, grammar mistakes or spelling errors in writing on the board, because they are the ones the students are looking at and imitating. Okay, because students, they will definitely follow what is there just right in front of their eyes on the board. So the teacher has to be very much cautious, right? And when you talk about beginning and ending a lesson, always it should happen with a clean board. The teacher should begin a lesson with a clean means clear, right? Nothing written on it, with a clear board. And also the teacher should end the lesson with a clear board. Okay, these are some etiquettes as well, talking about use of the blackboard, right? And then there's another aid, printed visuals. They are the ones like books, newspapers, and magazines, right? The teacher can use different versions of these things, right? Not a book itself. Sometimes the teacher can bring a chapter, right? Or only chapter of a book, or maybe only one part, one paragraph of a chapter, right? And if there are copyright permissions, right, the teacher can modify something available in the book to ease the learning process, to make the learning as well as teaching process easy, right? And newspaper means not bringing the whole thing, right? Some particular articles, news articles or feature articles. The same with magazines. The teacher can customize, right? Can customize in the sense can adapt these materials according to the levels of the students, right? Yeah, printed visuals. So if you remember more about anything about printed visuals than these three, you can add them to the note and have some sort of idea, right? Okay, then we have this electronic aids. Electronic aids, there are electronic aids which are commonly used by the teachers. Okay, see which are very much common and which are not very much used by the teacher. The first one, slides and the slide projector. You know, in the school environment, the using slides or PowerPoint slides will not be that much, what do you think, practical, because all the schools do not have facilities, required facilities. Because of that, it may not be, yeah, possible in all the situations, right? Because preparing PowerPoint slide is, will say it's all right. But for the teacher to go and play the slideshow, there has to be the required equipment, you know, the computer machines and the projectors and all these things. Okay. Yeah. And also in that regard, they are quite expensive then, right? As the projectors and all these things are involved there. But slides are very much effective, very, very much effective. Here I have given about the vocabulary. Right. Some suggestions on how to teach language using slides, teaching vocabulary and also grammar, right? Sentences, but don't limit to these ideas only, right? Think beyond them. What else the teacher can do using PowerPoint slides? Now, don't think that PowerPoint slide is something which is only written, right? Typed version. Teacher can include or insert a lot more things to the slides, you know, to the PowerPoint slides, even talking about video clips, some animated clips, some audio tracks even, and the teacher can show pictures, right? Slides are very much useful and can be used effectively if the teacher is clever and also innovative, creative one. Okay, that is the top most used electronic aid. Other than that, film strips. Yeah, sequence of stories can be projected through film strips and they are used on a slide projector or a film strip projector, right? Okay, now here also these equipments may not be very much available in the schools. In that case, practicability of using these would be quite questionable, right? Okay, and tape recorder. What about the tape recorders? Do you think nowadays the teachers are using tape recorders? Yeah. Do you think that with all the other facilities, right? We talk about tape recorders, especially talking about this listening, right? Listening skill improvement. No visuals, no. There are no visuals. The students, to understand the whole thing, the students have to listen very carefully. Yeah, ear training is very important for developing listening skills. Yeah, and tapes are available for good pronunciation, prose reading, poem recitations, stress, intonation, like so many things. When we talk about listening skill, there are several different aspects to be improved. No, it's not only listening to words, right? Word in the sense not only listening to lexemes, how the words are pronounced, and the pronunciation and accent differ on various factors like dialectal differences. And also not only the dialectal differences, right? That is in small scale, but when you talk about bigger differences like different standards, if you talk about English, for example, American English, British English, the two main standard versions, and also Sri Lankan English and Indian English, Canadian English, African English, likewise. The different varieties of the language are existing. Then the teacher should make the ears of the students familiar to most of these varieties. Otherwise, making them listen to Sri Lankan English only will not solve the problem of understanding anything in English. Right? The student should listen to so many different. That is why I told you here pronunciation. For good pronunciation and accent, the tape recorder can be easily used as equipment, okay? As equipment. And prose reading, reading prose. That means loud reading and poem recitations. The students can listen to some recitals and they can practice how to recite a poem by listening to authentic recitals, right? With all these things, the students, another most important thing is getting familiar with prosodic features, which we call suprasegmental features like stress, intonation, pitch, tone, rhythm, juncture, this kind of aspect. However much the students know the words, if the students can't understand an utterance with these prosodic features, then there's a failure, right? It's a failure. So recognizing a word only is not enough. The easiest example, right? The best example is our students, right? Sometimes we people will just think that by listening to a native English speaker only once, sometimes we do not catch the meaning completely. Especially the students find it, right? They need to listen for several times, no, not only one time, 2 times or sometimes 3 times. They need to listen to the same audio track to understand the meaning, what the person says fully, to fully understand. What is that? Why does that happen? Is it because the student cannot recognize the words? Yeah, sometimes the students can recognize the words, but still can't grab the meaning. And some other times the students can't recognize the words even and can't grab the meaning because of the use of these prosodic features. Because these features like stress, intonation, etc., they are not the same with the features of our mother tongues. So we are used to our mother tongues, right? And we are looking at another language from the perspective of our languages. So we are not used to their own prosodic features. So only way is to make the students listen to this native-like pronunciation. That is why it is important, right? Listening to native speeches or pronunciations is very important because of that factor, because of the existence of these prosodic features. Right? Okay. It is fine if the teacher is confident in creating a tape script that can suit his student. Yeah. Tape recorder is useful for self-examination, self-criticism, and even self-education. This, what do you mean by this? Creating a tape script means creating some audio material, right? Creating an audio material according to the level of the students. That's the idea. Like, for example, if you ask grade 6 or 5 or 6 students to go and watch BBC News and summarize it in the classroom, something like that, it will never happen, no? Right? It will never happen. In the sense that they find it really difficult to catch the idea. So what should the teacher do then? Should kind of customize it, right? Adapt the audio material to suit the level of the students. Otherwise, the task will not be effective. Okay. Right. Sorry. Yeah. So in that sense, tape recorder is very much important. So you need to think broadly here. Don't think tape recorder as something which was used or which is used in our normal like as something in our normal household item. Not like that, right? How can it be used in the teaching learning process effectively? How to broaden the scope of usage? You need to think in that manner, right? Especially in relation to ESL. How to use tape recorder as an equipment to improve the listening skills of the ESL students. That is the focus here, right? Okay, and then we have another one, a linguaphone, right? Linguaphone is a kind of training, right? It's a kind of language training provider. Not very much commonly used, right? Especially in Sri Lankan educational context. But if interested, the teachers can follow up and get some idea regarding how to use it in language classrooms. Okay. And there are in this provider, there are records available on speeches of great personalities, right? Especially when the teacher is practicing the students for public speaking, right? This can be used because there are speeches available. The students can listen and can understand the features, even can imitate in the sense can not 100% imitating the same thing, but they can be exposed to the pronunciations and organization of content and the presenting them, all those things. Right? Yeah. Yeah, now we have language laboratory as a new concept. Then this linguaphone is a kind of way to move on to the language laboratory usage also, right? We'll talk about language lab a bit later. Then there's radio. Yeah, it helps improve the pronunciation of the students. Lectures, talks, and addresses of important personalities can be heard on radio. Yeah, talking about pronunciation. The same thing happens in linguaphone also, right? Listening to the pronunciation. This is an audio aid only, no? Radio. Yeah. So without distracting the attention of the students to visuals, right? That is the biggest use of radio. Oral aids. What is that? The students' attention will not be distracted to other things like pictures or colors, right? Whatever the things that are related to video. They have only audio input, only audio. They will listen only, they will not see anything. So then they need to sharpen their ears to grab the meaning only by listening to the sounds they hear. So their pronunciation, they can get a very clear idea regarding the pronunciation. Even for their speaking skills, it will be a great, not only improving listening skill, right? Improving speaking skill as well, right? There is another quotation by Frederick Wittes, right? I will just go through that also, simply read it. I like to think of education by radio as a timely, vital, dramatic thing. A system of learning or acquiring more information, means of widening one's horizon or enriching one's life and breaking down prejudices through inspiration and prescription, and education by desire and not by discipline. A pattern of swiftly changing pictures, events. Okay, right now that is his personal view about using radio. There's not many factual information which you need to pay your attention to and learn, I mean, study, keep in mind, nothing. But this is his perception about radio, the use of radio. So you can understand how far the radio is important from the point of view of this Frederick Wittis. It's very important, but during the classroom sessions, I don't know whether teachers are using radio to that effect, right? Have you found teachers to be using radio, particularly radio, in teaching learning process? Do you have any experience or have you seen anybody in language classes?
No, ma'am.
No.
Very rare. Instead of using radio, I think they prefer to use video clips, right? But again, the facilities are not, if the facilities are not available, that is blocked then. But I don't think only the radio is enough, no, right? As an equipment for the teacher to make the students listen to something. So even in situations in classes where there are low facilities, teachers don't think of using these equipments that can be used even with less facilities, right? Okay, right. Television. We don't find radios a lot in classrooms, not even televisions, because there are replacements. That is, they are instead of using a television, the teacher can easily use CD player or DVD player. Nowadays, they are also not used, no, right? Can you remember there was a time in the history where when CD or DVD players were used a lot, right? They were available in almost all the houses, right? Those who can afford for them. But now all these things have been replaced by what? What do you think? Even television has been replaced. Still, television is in use, right? There are people who are watching television, but most of the time, all these things have been replaced by internet. If you have an internet connection and also a device, at least a smartphone, you don't want CD player or DVD player or even television. So the same thing has happened in language classrooms also, but again, this facility issue is coming in, right? Then the teachers are not worried about using even radio or television. Nothing then, finally. Okay. Teaching through television makes the learner attracted to the content of learning, right? Content. And there are many subject-oriented CDs available in the markets with quite interesting ways of presenting the content. And the work of the teacher is made easy, and the hardship that the students have to put for understanding is kept aside with teaching through television, right? Okay, it should be mostly the educational programs. And, sometimes there are facilities, right, available in the TV where we can use pen drives, right? We can play anything which we bring in a pen drive on TV. So even if you don't have a computer in the classroom, if television is there, right, someone updated one, the Anybody can, as teachers, anybody can use it effectively in the teaching learning process. Right? Okay. Well, right. So we were talking about three types of instructional aids then, right? Audio-visual aids, then teacher-made aids, and the last one, electronic aids. And there are also subcategories, especially talking about audio-visual aids, right? So be familiar with them and have a broad understanding about how to use them practically in the classroom. Okay, how to use them practically. I emphasize the word practically because theoretically we can be telling a lot of things. The thing is, I was taking some more time to talk about how they are used, or at least whether they are being used in the classroom because of this question of practicality. Maybe because of the attitude of the teachers, or maybe due to the lack of facilities, or maybe they are not allowed. There can be so many reasons, so many hindrances that affect the teachers in using these instructional aids. They vary, right? So you need to pay attention to that aspect there. That is what is expected from you if you are going to write anything about these instructional aids or audiovisual aids. Right. Apart from that, there are some concepts as I was introducing at the beginning of this session. One is this program learning. Right. I am introducing these terms only, not going to discuss them in very detail, right? I just introduce them. Program learning, have you heard about this? Are you familiar with this word? Any idea? No. Silence means, okay, right. We'll see. Yeah, for program learning is a self-instructional method. Right? Self-instructional method where learners progress through learning materials at their own pace. I think by reading this sentence, you can understand the basic idea of program learning. It's a sort of self-instructional method where the learners continue learning, right, through learning materials, using some learning materials at their own speed. Pace means own speed. Then how do they do this? Right? There are so many steps involved, so many things the learner should do. Right? That's what we are going to have a look at now. It involves breaking down complex topics into smaller, manageable steps, presenting information logically, and providing immediate feedback to learners. Right? So program learning in other way, I should tell you a kind of differentiation, right? Because this is relevant to how the learners are like learning at their own speed now. So not all the learners have the same pace, same speed of learning something. It differs from one learner to another learner, from one student to another student. Okay, so that is individualized. That is the word. Individualized kind of learning, right? The three major principles that are involved in program learning are active responding, minimal errors, and knowledge of results. Yeah, the student should respond very much actively, right, in relation to what he or she learns, and the minimal errors, minimum number of errors is the target, right? It is not zero error. It's not practical, not even realistic, but minimal errors, minimum number of errors, and knowledge of results. The student should be aware of what he or she achieves, or is going to achieve at the end of the learning process. Right? So program learning is led by these three principles. Yeah. So I have explained it here. The learner should make an error-free response and it should be confirmed by knowledge of the result. right? And if the learning sequence is made by adopting these principles, it's program learning model. Okay, active responding and error-free. That response should be error-free, right? That's the idea, or minimum number of errors, and also the learner should be clear of the end result. Right? Okay, those principles are developed further here. You can take them as characteristics also. Self-paced. Yeah, learners control the speed of learning. Learners have the chance to decide, to make the decision regarding how fast am I learning. That freedom is there, right? Self-paced and immediate feedback. Another characteristic, or you can take it as a principle of program learning. They receive instant feedback on their responses from the teacher, right? And active learning. Yeah, they are actively engaged in the learning process. You know, active and passive learning. Several times, I think I also must have talked about these things with you all, right? In program learning, learner can't be a passive learner, not a passive listener, not a passive learner at all. Okay, learner has to be very much active. Active means involved or engaged in the learning process, because learner is the one who is doing the learning task. Okay, so he has the responsibility of learning. So this is mostly like student-centered, not like the teacher-centered, this program learning. And small steps means information is presented in small and digestible chunks to the students, so that it is easy for the student to like understand, to grab and understand, and also retain them. Okay, and this is individualized. Remember, these steps are individualized, right? Small steps. Logical sequence. Information is presented in a clear and logical order. Otherwise, it will be difficult for the student to understand and follow the whole thing. Okay, right. So these are the commonest characteristics of program learning. Don't think that program learning has something to do with electronic or anything to do with IT or ICT, right? Or digital learning. No. Program learning itself means how the learning experience is adapted to individual learner. Okay, it's customized to the needs of the learner. Okay, this is a new concept, but I don't think that this is mostly used. Individualized learning, it is existing, right? It is there to some extent. But program learning in Sri Lankan context, better if you can think. Think means to find. How does it work? Yeah, how does this program learning work? Yeah, what is happening right there? The learners are presented with a small unit of information, and learners are asked a question or given a task related to the presented information, right? This is the order. Hope you can follow the order, right? First, a small unit of information is presented to the learner, and then the teacher asks some questions. Or sometimes the teacher can give the students an activity, small activity or a task related to that information. Okay, then learners provide an answer or complete the task. This is something like task-based learning also. Okay. Then learners receive immediate feedback on their response, whether it is correct or incorrect, right? Then correct responses are reinforced and incorrect responses are explained. Well, then after that, after the reinforcement or corrections, learners move on to the next unit of information. So these small steps, hope you got this point right. Small steps, because not a large thing is not given to the student at the very beginning, right? The information is given to the students step by step in small steps. And at each step, all these steps are followed. That is what you mean by program learning. Now you tell me, do you have any experience of observing or like learning in this sort of environment, program learning? Have any idea? Idea means any experience. So have you seen?
No, ma'am.
Hmm. No. Others? No idea. You haven't seen also. But don't you think that it is quite effective? This program learning concept, especially now the thing is in an average classroom or usual classroom, there are learners at different levels. Not all the students are in the same level now, right? So they are in different levels. So this can be used if the teacher uses this program learning. If practically she can do so, okay, it will be really beneficial to the students. But the biggest problem is it's not that practical, right? With 40 plus students in a classroom, paying individual attention to the students' speed, their individual responses, and catering to their responses, giving feedback and reinforcement and corrections. With 40 plus people in a classroom, it will not be easy. Okay, there is a problem regarding the practicability, but with less number of students, this can be done. Okay, write something for you to think of. Yeah, then we are coming to this language laboratory discussion. Language laboratory, although I have put the topic like that, yeah, I'm going to talk about these concepts like tell, call, and calt, like that. Okay, we are using the abbreviated forms, but you are familiar, right? If you have done HND, you know, definitely call, CALL. We call it call, and some people call it cal also. Computer assisted language learning. Okay, we'll go from the beginning, right? This is one concept, technology enabled language learning, TELL. And you can call it TEL, right? Technology enabled language learning. That is the basic idea. Basic idea. And the language laboratories are established with this purpose. What is the purpose there? To teach language to the students by making them familiarized to the technology. So via technology, through technology, making the students learn language. So technology is used as something which facilitates language learning process. Don't think that the students are learning technology here, right? The students are not learning IT or ICT or anything. They are learning language, but not in a usual classroom. They are in a language lab, right? And using the technology, and target is to learn language. Okay. Right. There are some information I have given, so it's better if you can go through them now itself rather than keeping it to read later. There's no need of reading it later in detail, right? But now we all are in the mood of listening and working in this now. So I will give you 1 or 2 minutes quickly, right? Go through once this area. Okay.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah.
The call and the tell both are a little bit same, no, ma'am.
Yeah. I wanted to tell you here, TELL is the common term, general term. CALL is one of the technology-enabled language learning program. Okay, and also this, okay, I will go a little bit further down there. This CALT, or CALT, CALT, that is also a form of TEL. You understand, right? So TEL or technology-enabled language learning is a general term. Yeah, we can talk about CALL or CALT or anything. Okay, the basic idea of technology-enabled language learning is learning the language, or facilitating the students to learn language through technology. Okay, that's the general idea. I hope it's clear to you. Right? So if you go through this part, I think you will get that uh, idea. English language teachers have understood the importance of integrating technology in teaching English, right? Importance of integrating technology. So it is felt that traditional English classes don't have the required scope for learning English at a desired level. I'm also reading now. Okay. So it's imperative to offer language instruction in multiple settings, as it promotes the use of language skills in authentic situations with the help of various techniques using technology. Right? The traditional classroom is not enough. Actually speaking, all the four skills cannot be practiced fully or completely in a traditional classroom, in a normal classroom. For that, technology can be effectively used. Right? Multiple settings are open inside a language lab where the students can listen very easily. Okay, you have the ideas now when you particularly talk about computer-assisted language learning. Right? It serves as the motivating factor to increase students' interest in language learning, and students can overcome their inhibitions in language labs participating with enthusiasm. Yeah, usually students like to use the computers, right? And a lot of things can be done by using computer. So teachers should be clever enough to utilize this interest or enthusiasm to make the students develop a likeness to learn language, right? To turn that interest to language learning. That can be easily done using within a language library with these tasks like introducing English speech sounds, accent, stress, rhythm, and intonation to neutralize the influence of the mother tongue, or in other words, the many in many situations, right? Usually, students, we are facing huge issue here now, right? Because now you can give grammar knowledge to the students. You can give vocabulary, you can improve the vocabulary also within the students, which means you can polish the reading skill, writing skill, okay, right? But when you talk about speaking and listening, especially these two skills, speaking and listening, the teachers find it really difficult because, right, in our country, any country, it is the same. The students are like influenced by their mother tongue. Okay, everywhere it happens like that, and that's the biggest trouble for a second language learner. The interference, L1 interference. Because of that, especially this happens in pronunciation. Okay, it L1 interferes with grammar pattern also, but especially when you think about pronouncing, right? Sometimes the students are used to beginners, right? Beginner learners, they are used to speak in English just like they speak in Sinhala or Tamil. That is because of the mother tongue influence. So this can be overcome by making them exposed to native-like pronunciation using some some language applications or softwares, right? In a language laboratory. Now, I think you remember about Tell Me More. right? There was at the introduction of language laboratory concept in SLIAD, we had Tell Me More package, right? So like that, there are so many other applications, some packages available where the students can listen and at the same time they can imitate and pronounce, right? Pronunciation practice. So all these things are happening in line with the native, like pronunciation, right? Okay, so in that sense, language lab does a very huge role. It plays a huge role, right? Further, this call provides advantages to the students to record their responses, listen to them, check their correctness, and identify errors, right? So own pronunciation. They can listen and identify what has gone wrong in their pronunciation, right? Okay, so there are so many things that can be done in using technology, right? So that is the focus of this call is one. Here you have you can see a list of advantages. Advantages of technology-enabled language learning. There are several different advantages. The main advantage of these technological packages is that they enable reading, writing, speaking, and listening to be combined in a single activity. Right? This may not be that much possible in a usual classroom. You understand? Either teacher is giving a listening activity or sometimes speaking activity, reading, writing separately, no? And sometimes that also may be not very much interesting to the students. But in a language lab, right, in technology-enabled language learning or CALL system, all these skills are integrated, right? The students are given chances to expose to almost all these skills together, okay, in a single, same activity. Yeah. And it builds on multimedia technology and in addition enables both asynchronous and synchronous communication between learners and teachers. Right, this is another point. Now you need to be familiar with this synchronous and asynchronous. Asynchronous, synchronous communication. What do you mean by this? Synchronous communication, you synchronize in the sense that you tell something and you get the feedback on the spot. You get the reply on the spot, right? Okay. Then asynchronous is the opposite of it. You send your message, but you have to wait for some time to get the response. Like synchronous communication, the best example would be the telephone conversation. Or, I mean, it can be, if you just relate it to technology, it can be chatting, right? Online chatting. You tell something and you get the response on the spot, no? Right. But in asynchronous communication, you have to wait for some time. Like if you send an email, an example for asynchronous communication, you send an email and you don't get the reply soon, as soon as you send the message, no? You send the email, you have to wait. And even WhatsApp messages, right? Asynchronous methods, communication methods. So here you are talking about the student and the teacher, right? So there are certain the situations where the students can get the response from the teacher as well as from a colleague on the spot or not on the spot, right? So these sort of different communication systems there can be used in technology-enabled language learning. The students can be familiarized with them and they can use them to improve their language. And also, autonomous learning, other advantage. Technology promotes the acquisition of autonomous learning, developing the learner's critical faculties. You know about autonomy, right? Learner autonomy or autonomous learning, right? Learning something on his own or her own, right? Autonomy. It allows a sufficient level of stimulation, like both cognitively and affectively, dealing with multiple modalities. Now we are talking about the benefits of technology. One biggest benefit or advantage is it promotes learner autonomy or autonomous learning. Why do we say so? It allows a sufficient level of stimulation, right? The student can stimulate cognitively or affectively. Cognitive means intelligence level, thinking. And affectively means related to emotions. In emotional levels, right? Technology gives a sort of stimulus, right? Stimulus. You understand the word stimulus? In Sinhala, we know the word as uttejaka. So technology provides a stimulus, cognitively or affectively, to the learners to carry out the learning process all by himself or herself. Okay. And also dealing with multiple modalities, like multiple modalities. Technology will help learners to learn in different various learning styles and also strategies, right? Because all the learners have their own ways of learning. No, learning style is not the same between two learners, right? Also, the strategies a person uses to learn language can vary from one person to another person. And technology will help any learner to carry out the learning process, because we talk about autonomous learning, right? To carry out the learning process according to his or her own level. For example, excuse me, give me 1 second. Sorry for the interruption. Okay. Yeah, I was talking about this, the use of technology to deal with multiple modalities means different learning styles and the use of different methods and strategies for language learning. Okay. I was about to tell, just think about yourself as an example. You want to learn something, but you need to Google some information. So you do it according to how you feel it now. If you think that you can get information by we'll say by reading more facts, by gathering more and more facts and reading them, then you can do it like that, right? And there are students who like in the sense who are comfortable, who are feeling comfortable to gather so many information, and then later on they uh, form a kind of short note based on this lengthy information, and then they go ahead like that. And there are some other students who do not study like that, right? They grab the idea in short form, right? By using simple points, short points. So accordingly, they use the internet, right? Websites. They will gather information as how they wish. That's the simple idea I wanted to tell, to explain this second point, okay? And also there is a high level of interaction. Yeah, human and machine and human interaction formed since the teacher too is available in such labs as a facility. So we are talking about not simply technology in isolation, right? Technology that is used in language lab. That is used in language lab. So there is the teacher as well available the high level of interaction is there between the human, the student and the machine, as well as between the student and the teacher. Okay, not only student and the machine. The teacher is controlling it. So the level of interaction is quite higher there, right? Okay. This autonomous learning is facilitated. It is supported, well supported by the technology used in language lab, right? And we are talking about the benefits. Then listening skills are precisely acquired with technology in English class. Earlier also we talked about listening skill, no, right? And as English is a non-phonetic language, learning the pronunciation of English words is difficult. So with technology, students are exposed to very authentic and reliable speech patterns. We talked about this point as well earlier, right? Like being exposed to native like pronunciation, and hope you can catch this idea. English is a non-phonetic language. Phonetic language means we write as how we pronounce. Yeah, right? The graphemes are arranged, right? The grapheme system is based on the pronunciation, oral system. But in English, all the words are not like that, no, right? There are some words where the spellings are totally different from the sounds that are pronounced. Okay, so it is not completely a phonetic language. So in that sense, it's difficult to have a kind of synthesis, combination between the writing and the speaking and all these things. So pronunciation, only by reading a word, it's difficult to catch the pronunciation. That's the idea here. Okay, only by reading a word, the student, if he is a beginner learner, it's difficult to pronounce the word. To pronounce the word correctly, the student should know already the pronunciation. So for that, the technology can be used to improve the pronunciation and to get to know about how to pronounce correctly, right? Okay, the last point, technology helps teaching and learning of speaking and reading to a great extent, making the learning to use English in a balanced way, right? Okay, that's a general point. Hope you all have understood these advantages, right, of technology-enabled language learning. And we have this CALT also, computer assisted language teaching. Commonest term is called or CAL, computer assisted language learning, and we have CALT as well. What is that? A system of educational instruction done almost entirely by computer. Okay. It's a type of educational program designed to serve as a teaching tool. And it has facilities for both teaching and also testing, right? Teaching the learner as well as testing the knowledge of the learner. So CALT, the human teacher is not involved, actually, right? Because the completely the instructions related to the learning process are given by the computer only, entirely by computer. So CALT is quite useful for those who are self-learning, right? Who are learning on their own speed or pace. There are some functions I have listed out down here. Right. Functions of this type of instruction. I don't know whether you all are familiar with CALT or whether you have learned anything in CALT, but these are some of the functions. See whether you are familiar with them. Entry behavior of the students is tested and easily understandable language materials are given. Repetitive drills to make habit formation of the language. You know, repetitive drills means repeating. So the learner can listen and keep on repeating. And language games are there. Terminal behavior of the students is tested, right? And continuous programs on language items prepare the students to use English globally, right? These are some of the basic functions that we can see in CALT. All right. Mm, other than these concepts like tell, poll, calt, right? Other than that aspect, now still we are talking about the instructional aids now. This is about multimedia for ELT, using multimedia, right, in English language teaching. Yeah, you can go through this simple idea there, right? I don't think I should be reading the lines. And at the same time, I don't think that you had a chance to go through this note earlier also, because I sent this today. Can leisurely go through this, because multimedia, although we talk about multimedia in a different slide here, multimedia comes under. Multimedia means PowerPoint slides, no? It can be sometimes means not all the time, right? Through multimedia, we can show PowerPoint slides plus some more things, right? See, the use of multimedia means the use of print text. Via multimedia, we can show the PDF or Word documents or film, that means video clips, right? And anything else, we can show whole lot of things, a variety of items. Then how far multimedia is useful in teaching English? That is the idea, the point you need to address. Okay, I hope you all would go through this and be familiar. And there is another area on web-based language learning, right? Web-based language learning, WBL. We don't say WBLL, WBL only. So this is a method of language instruction that utilizes the internet as the primary delivery platform. Okay. Learning language using internet or via internet. Internet here means simply websites. Okay. So it encompasses wide range of learning activities from self-guided exercises and interactive lessons to virtual classrooms and online communities. So look, you can get some idea about the scope of web-based language learning. It is not simply looking at something or reading something in a website, understanding and learning, and then studying it. No, it's not simply that. For language learning, anybody can use, right, resources available in the internet for all these things. To do some exercises that are self-guided, and there are interactive lessons even up to the virtual classrooms and online communities. There's a variety of facilities and activities there. Okay, right. Now, as the time is coming to the end, I will just quickly, briefly go through, right? I will make these things brief. There are some key features of WBL, that means web-based language learning. Yeah, learners can access to educational materials and resources from anywhere with an internet connection. That is clear now? You don't have to tell it, but it is a feature of WBL. Wherever you are, if you have an internet connection with a proper device, you can learn anything. That's the idea. And WBL often incorporates interactive elements. There are some interactive elements like quizzes, games, and simulations to engage learners. Quite interactive, right? I think you are familiar at least with quizzes. They give us questions one by one, and we pick the answer. They score the answers, and finally they give the marks, right? And with the feedback, this sort of quizzes are often available, right? Very much available there. And it leverages various multimedia formats like videos, audio clips, images, to provide a comprehensive and multisensory learning experience. Okay. And WBL fosters collaboration, another feature among learners. and it enables learners to progress at their own pace and tailor their learning experience to their individual needs, right? These sentences are clear, I hope, right? The idea is clear, therefore I'm not reading all these things. Here I have given you some idea about integrating technology in lessons, right? How to integrate technology in lessons. In several sections, I have provided some information talking about the planning and purpose, right? How to integrate technology in planning a lesson or in designing lessons, then during the planning section, right? Yeah, identify the specific learning objectives of the lesson. Identify the specific learning objective of the lesson and how can technology directly support these goals. Yeah, now your attention should be switched on to lesson planning here, right? Not basically the components of lesson planning, but what does a teacher do in planning a lesson? The first thing is to identify the lesson objectives, no? Without identifying the objectives, no one can design a lesson plan, right? So then, first thing is to identify the learning objectives of the lesson or lesson objectives. And then the second step, only the teacher should think of how can technology be used to support these goals or to achieve these objectives. Otherwise, don't put the technology first. Don't prioritize the technology over the lesson objectives. Always lesson objectives should be prioritized and then technology, what sort of technology should be decided, should be used, is decided after objectives are defined. Okay? Yeah. Here I have given some examples to understand that point, right? Practicing grammar through interactive exercises or improving pronunciation with recording tools, right? Practicing grammar is related to one objective and improving pronunciation is related to another objective. Then you can think, okay, how am I going to do it or achieve the objective like this, using this sort of activity using technology. Right? That is the thing which should happen. And select a tool that specifically addresses the learning needs, right? And then engaging activities. In planning a lesson, the activities should be quite engaging, no? Then balance digital activities with traditional methods like discussions, role playing, and games. Don't put activities that are done with technology only. It should be a mix, right? Digital activities and traditional activities. Traditionally, we can use group works like discussions or role playing, even pair activities, right? To think about inserting them also uh, along with the digital activities, right? Yeah. Okay, you can read the rest of the sentences, right? And implementing, effective implementation, right? How do you implement your lesson plan integrating technology when the lesson is going on, right? How do you integrate technology? You need to provide clear and concise instructions on how to use the technology, right? I mean, especially talking about the steps of the activity and offer guidance and support, especially when introducing new tools. If there are new tools you are going to use in teaching language to your students, you need to provide them guidance and support also, right? And in whatever way, maybe by like orally providing the instructions or creating short tutorials or providing practice exercises before starting the main activity, and ensure reliable internet access and that the chosen activity is compatible, right? Okay, that is obvious. Then talking about assessment and reflection. How do you integrate technology? Observe how students are using the technology and if it is facilitating learning. You need to basically you here means the teacher, right? Should have an understanding regarding how the students are using technology or whether really there is learning happening. The teacher should be on alert, right? Assessing in means that aspect as well. And then incorporate feedback mechanisms within the technology itself. Like if you do quizzes, you can have automated grading. Even Google Forms, right? If you give a test to the students in the form of Google Forms, you can set the answers and then the gradings and marks and everything you can feed so that everything will come in handy in the form of Excel sheet. Like that, there are so many ways of integrating technology in assessing the students, right? And regularly evaluate the effectiveness of technology integration, right? The teacher should be in touch with that area. Okay, right. These are some of the considerations regarding how to mix up technology, how to use technology, or the better word is integrate technology in designing and implementing lessons, right? Okay, the last one is this. This is about blended learning. Another concept that is related to technology itself, right? Yeah, blended learning is known as hybrid learning also. You know the word blended, right? Blending, mixing. There, what is happening is that the two types of learning take place. One is the traditional face-to-face classroom methods, and the other type is online learning, online educational materials and activities. Okay, simply here the teacher gives the students some educational materials or handouts or maybe lessons, activities online. And the teacher can explain about them also online to the students. And after that, that is the first part of the whole lesson. And the next part, the students come to the classroom physically, right? And they are implementing what they have done. Maybe, for example, the teacher can teach something and ask the students to find some information, can give an activity to find some information about the taught topic. And after that, the students are meeting face to face in their usual classroom, and teacher can put them into groups or pairs, right? And ask them to share their findings and present them in the classroom. So it's blending two types of learning experiences, online as well as physical, right? Okay, this happened during the COVID pandemic year. Actually, online learning took place basically, but later on, some of the courses started to be hybrid, right? So certain parts are taught online and certain other parts are taught in face-to-face classroom methods, somewhat similar to blended learning. Even in universities, this happen, right? Even nowadays, this happen. Not like these situations here, totally online, but there are programs where the students have to visit the educational institute and engaged in the learning activities, apart from what they learn from online sessions, right? Okay, there are some key aspects of blended learning. Are they clear? Yeah, blended learning incorporates online resources and activities that students can access outside of classroom, right? Okay, and this can free up classroom time for more interactive activities and discussions. Yeah, it saves time also, no? Right. And blended learning offers more flexibility for students. More flexibility for students to learn at their own pace. And online components can be tailored to individual needs. Tailored. Right. Yeah. And technology plays a central role in blended learning. Without technology, blended learning is not possible at all. Right? Online resources can include educational videos, interactive exercises, simulations, and collaborative platforms. So, lot of things teacher can do online with the students. And they can be supplemented or supported by the following physical activities in the classroom. Right? Okay, right. I wanted to introduce what blended learning is, right? And only this part is there. I don't want to discuss in more detail. Right, anyway, these are the topics I wanted to discuss today. And in certain places, I skipped some areas and I quickly did the discussions in order to catch the time. Anyway, right now, this is the last session of this module. And I have come to the end of the discussions. Now it's your turn. Do you find anything to be clarified or anything you want to say about this module? Any area which is not clear? Anything? Because we have few more minutes left. If you want, I can just add anything. Yeah.
Ma'am, is this your last class, ma'am?
Yeah. Because I have, this is the last topic. You will get questions only from these. There are 6 units, no? We have discussed. So you will get questions from these units only, right? But if you have received the module on teaching of English, there are some other units as well, which I purposely avoided because there are areas which are overlapping with your other modules. So no need of repeating, and it might increase the bulk also. So I thought of covering these 6 units. Accordingly, you will get questions also. Okay. Anything else?
Ma'am, on the last class you mentioned, ma'am, that if we have time, we will see some past papers, ma'am.
The thing is, Philip, I don't have any past paper in that regard, right? Of this subject. But I think you will be able to get some papers from the office. I do not have in my hold any paper in that regard. But the thing is, Philip, the problem is now we don't have time. That's the issue, right?
Okay, ma'am.
But anyway, just inquire from the office. I saw another post which was shared in your group, some links to some past papers or something, but I don't know whether this subject are available in these links. I didn't open them, but you can just inquire about it from the office.
Okay,
Right?
ma'am.
Yeah. Any other issue or anything if you want to get clarified? If you don't remember any question now, if you remember, if you find any issue later, you can contact me, right? No issue. My contact numbers are there in the lecture materials now, right? So if you want, you can contact me. No issue. Note 71. The number starting with note 71, I'm available online. Both numbers are the same. One is starting with note 71, the other one note 72, right? I'm available on WhatsApp with the number starting with note 71, right? Okay. So shall I wind up then if you don't have to talk anything? Right, okay. Then good night, all of you.
Good night, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night, madam. Thank you.